Russia vetoed on Monday a UN Security Council resolution blaming Iran for arming Yemen's Houthi Ansarullah movement. Russian Ambassador Vasily Nebensia told the Council, "We cannot concur with uncorroborated conclusions and evidence which requires verification and discussions within the Sanctions Committee." The Russian veto has been interpreted as a defeat for the United States, which has been lobbying for months to hold Iran accountable at the UN. After this failure, the United States threatened unilateral action against Iran. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, said, "If we're not going to get action on the Council, then we have to take our own actions."
Well, the most interesting thing was that the United States tried to get this resolution passed at the Security Council that identified Iran. Russia categorically said no. And other countries, not just those countries that voted against the resolution, but several of the others also expressed concerns about it. So this is why the resolution not only failed, but the United States was forced to accept a resolution, a Russian-drafted resolution, it didn't like. So clearly, the feeling in the Council, the Security Council, on Iran is shifting against the United States, because I think a lot of countries on the Security Council felt that this resolution was essentially an attempt by the United States to target Iran.
The U.S. had repeatedly called for renewed embargoes on Iran, accusing the country of sending missiles to Houthi Ansarullah forces in Yemen. Refuting any accusation that Iran sends missiles to Yemen, Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said, "Over the past year, the American government has tried to drag Iran to the Security Council over issues such as missile tests, domestic protests, or the Yemeni issue. But this shows America's isolation."
The United States has been using its stranglehold on international investigatory institutions to promote its particular narratives. And it is quite clear now that more and more countries, not just Russia, not just China, which also made clear its doubts, but other countries as well, are beginning to have their doubts and are no longer willing to accept, as they once did, what the United States and the various international agencies says is true. So from that point of view, Iran has advanced its position on this, and it seems that people are no longer prepared to assume that Iran is somehow to blame. They are prepared to look at the situation more objectively.
A group of UN experts monitoring the sanctions on Yemen reported to the Security Council in January that it had identified missile remnants that are of Iranian origin and were brought into Yemen after the imposition of the targeted arms embargo. The experts, however, said they were unable to identify the supplier. Meanwhile, Saudi King Salman has sacked the military chief of staff and a number of other top commanders in a major shakeup of the defense establishment. No official reason has been given for the sweeping overhaul, but it comes as the so-called Saudi-led coalition's military intervention in Yemen nears the end of its third year.
The first thing to say about this reshuffle is that it is enormous. All the top military commanders, including the chief of staff of the Saudi military, have either been removed or reshuffled. And the initiative for this appears to have come from the Saudi defense minister, who is Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is, of course, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. Now, the background to this is that, of course, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been the person responsible for waging this war in Yemen, which is going disastrously wrong. So on the one hand, he wants to remove the various military commanders who, in his opinion, have failed. And at the same time, I suspect he wants to divert onto them some of the responsibility for the things which have been going wrong in a war which everybody in Saudi Arabia and around the world knows is his responsibility.
The military campaign has brought no success to the Saudis, but has led to what the UN describes as the world's worst humanitarian crisis.